Well, hey, whiskey lovers, it's time for another This Tastes Good. And it's a somewhat dreary, grey, and chilly day where I am. And so, as those days roll around, what I'm reaching for tonight is something that feels appropriate to the mood, appropriate to the season. But it is, of course, delicious, and that's why it's here for a This Tastes Good review. What are we pulling? Well, if I was to describe to you the first time I drove through Campbeltown, it was a day not unlike today. It was grey, the cloud was hanging somewhat low, an invisible line between where the cloud became mist and the mist sprang to the sea. There was lots and lots of drizzle hitting the black stone that surrounds the distilleries there. And as I got out of the car, there was that unmistakable smell and scent of petrichor. Now, funnily enough, it was a very grey day in Campbelltown. The sun didn't come out until I got to Isla, which is not something that you hear very often, but it does stand in my memory. So, being in Campbelltown, of course, we're reaching for a Longrow and we're reaching for the peated. Now, why? Well, Longrow is the peated expression that they make at Springbank. And a day like today, where it is raining, there's a chill in the air, you kind of want to bundle up 2 or 3 layers deep. It suits this kind of whiskey where just on the aroma itself, you can easily imagine yourself on that coastline of the Mull of Kintyre. You can imagine yourself hearing the waves crash and the salty spray that they throw up against the rocks, against the sand, against the mossy kind of covering of the beachhead there. And so as we dive into the nose on this glass, that's where I'm transported to. Back into an experience where whiskey wasn't just pleasurable and enjoyable, but it was also functional. It was keeping us warm. So imagine, if you will, the smoke here is not the roaring hearth fire, and it's not perhaps the coal fire that you might imagine in other bleaker climates. This is a beach fire that's just been dampened down by the rain, and the petrichor is hitting stone. That smoke is gentle, it's curling and wafting up through the nose, and it's earthy, it's mossy. It has that sense of the place where it is, surrounded by really soft earth. And if you've walked the coastline of the Mull of Kintyre and then also across into Isla, the earth is soft. It gives a lot because there's a lot of rain, there's a lot of water coming down. So into that nose, as I say, it's earthy, there's dusty dunnage warehouse, there's that gentle wisp of campfire smoke, and there's the saltiness of that coastal spray hitting. But there's more within it too. Just in the back, as you really go deep into the nose, some of the sweetness starts to emerge. And it is toffee-like for me. I get a resonant kind of warm toffee, a hint of stewed fruit that might come later and reveal itself. And so, into the palate, chalkiness and minerality really round out what's happening on these first few sips. All of the mossy, earthy character is there. There's some dark cocoa dust, which isn't an uncommon note in these peated whiskies. That cocoa dust emerges particularly from the coastal peat bog, but that toffee starts to pull through and it becomes almost a butterscotch caramel. The stewed fruit reveals itself as deep, dark apricots that have perhaps been left on the pan a little too long. You could almost imagine yourself having flipped a tarte tartin. It's got that kind of caramelization of sugar going on, but it's all sitting underneath, of course, that lovely, puffy, velvety, gentle smoke and the depth that's starting to carry of spice and pepper as it starts to warm, as it starts to fill the palate. If I was to describe the shape of this whiskey, for me it is very round. It's not quite teardrop shaped, but it's round. It continues to expand in the palate. The tingle warms, the velvet starts to brush up against every part of the palate, and your whole palate starts to come alive. And more little sprinkles and sparkles of flavour start to emerge as you dive in, and the temptation is to go chasing them by sipping, but actually letting it just sit in the palate and sit in the tongue is where some of that olfactory work really starts to do its job. And so now, hints of molasses oatmeal cookies. There's hints of all of the richness and sweetness that we might expect starting to play its part as the malt has a chance to shine now that that smoke has wafted just a little. creaminess all the way through now. And that's what's adding to some of that really decadent character on the nose and also the fullness of what's happening with the malt on the palate. On a rainy day, on a chilly day where my toes are still a little bit chilly and I'll probably reach for an extra blanket, this Longrow is very delicious and it absolutely tastes good, which is why when you have the opportunity, please be certain to grab yourself a bottle or a dram, preferably with friends, preferably on a day like today where you can imagine yourself cramped around a fire, cozying to get warm, sharing some stories, and a dram or two. Welcome to this channel if you haven't been here before. Please do feel free to drop a like. You can subscribe. And you can, of course, leave a comment because apparently that's what you do. You ask people to leave a comment. So tell me either your favorite peated whiskey or your favorite campfire dram. And we will see you again soon for another episode of This Tastes Good. Wow, I can't believe